I'm Angela, the chair of Democrats Abroad Global Black Caucus.
And I'm Adrienne, and I lead the Global Black Caucus Get Out the Vote team.
I live in Germany and I vote in Florida.
And I vote in DC from Sweden, DC statehood.
Welcome to the Power to the People podcast.
Angela launched this podcast in 2018 to drive conversations for expats around the issues facing the Black community back home.
And to motivate you to vote in the U.S. elections. I know we've been saying this for a while, but the 2024 elections are so important and sitting on the sidelines isn't an option.
I mean, no, it's not. Do not tune out. Instead, tune into this podcast and share this with all the woke people you know, and the not so woke, and definitely those who need to be woke.
You get the idea. If you're an American of voting age living overseas, get your voting act together now. Votefromabroad.org is the place to start. Welcome to the Global Black Caucus Power to the People podcast. We're here today, Adrienne and I, with a very special guest. And
Yay!
we're super excited to talk to her. I just want to introduce the founding chair of Democrats Abroad Kenya, and a very accomplished woman in her own right, Robyn Emerson. Welcome, Robyn.
Wait a minute before Robyn says something. Wait a minute. I got to say, this is a girl crush episode. We're crushing times too. We've been waiting for Robyn to come. So excited. Now the floor is yours. Sorry. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Robyn.
Oh, well, thank you, Angela. Thank you, Adrienne. It's so great to be with my two powerful sisters in this Democrats Abroad organization. You ladies are really doing the thing. Power to the people.
Yes, power to the people. And speaking of power to the people, let's talk about our candidate for president, Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm so thrilled. How about you, Robyn?
Oh, Angela, I am so thrilled. I'm so excited. I'm so ready for such a time as this. I'm over the moon. And when I look at the sister, she is a sister. I don't care what everybody says. Did she just turn Black? Has she always been an Indian or something? Let's not even get into the ridiculous discussions of that. But we do know that in America's construct of race and everything, if she's had a drop of skin, a drop of this African descent blood, that America has always looked at her as a woman of color and a Black woman, if you will, that's the leading. And so she has moved through this earth in that experience. And I am just so proud of her. She is extremely accomplished. Let's not even get into talk about suitability. This woman has been elected over and over again. You can't sleep your way up. You can't sleep your way into an office.
Yeah, I don't even know what they were. I don't even know what they were talking about. I mean, really, how
do you sleep your way through all those people voting for you and all those different elected so I'm just extremely honored and excited about this woman, and I'm going to give it my all to get her elected and see this woman behind the seal, no longer saying vice president, but behind the seal that says the president of the United States of America.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing. Adrienne,
It's going
what
to
do
be
you think?
amazing. Well, I'm just like, not that I had any doubt, but I was glad that Robyn wasn't going to come out here and be like one of these sisters that are like, I'm not voting for Kamala, or I'm not on the Kamala, I'm not with Kamala. And I'm not even going to get into that. We don't even have to talk about that because there's always going to be that, right?
I don't think it's a bad thing to.
Yeah, I think we got to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think it's a bad thing because I had a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine, and she had said, Rocky Road, I guess before July, whenever the tables turned, or the candidate turned, she had a rocky road, but she wasn't on the Kamala tip specifically. But what she did say was she was that seeing the party kind of coming around and coalesce and getting behind Kamala was reassuring to what previously she had some concerns or misgivings about the values and the directions of the party. But she did say that, you know, to see that people have come around. And I said, well, I told her, I said, well, I actually think partly that it would have been an uphill battle if they had tried to step over the woman, not even the woman, the candidate that was suitable right there and ready to go. It would have been extremely hard.
Robyn, we would have burned things down.
Oh.
Listen,
That's
I
what
don't
I'm saying. It
know.
would have been, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
I,
So I don't,
yeah,
I mean, just step, yeah.
and I'm glad you all said that. And I haven't heard anyone not, but I'm, just little buzzes that it's, people may say something or not everybody is. And I can remember how there were some people who weren't on on the
Mhm.
Obama thing, whatever. But I'm just relieved that you weren't coming on here going to be contrary or not contrary, or even going to be, well, what about this? What about that? What about whatever? But just came right out the gate talking about her qualifications, giving her a props, because that's how we have to be. We're going to have to push back just straight out the block. So yay,
Well,
Robyn just,
let me say this also, Adrian and Angela. Look, y'all don't want me to open up my skeletons. Look, everybody got something. You can. I mean, really, are you serious? You can't be alive and be a human being and not
Yes.
have some misstep. That's the whole point. You want people who are tested and have failed and have gone through life, and to see where their values and their character are. And we do see a stark difference in the way that these two candidates have addressed challenges in life. So it's just silly to come up. She had the heck. Please, who doesn't? I mean, that's not there's a Jesus. Those are the categories of people that we might be thinking that would not get to 59 years old and not have any issues or challenges in their life. That is just
Yes.
unrealistic of us.
Well, even Jesus had challenges.
Well, yeah, exactly. Hello, yeah. So I
So,
mean, so anyhow, I just want to say that whatever is being said, none of it is, when I think about a person that I want to lead and to represent, it is somebody that goes through life's challenges with a certain kind of backbone, and it is some strength and some reflection and some empathy and some compassion for other people. So
and
I
let me
don't.
tell you this, yeah, and I'm going to look him up. I'm trying to look him up now because you see how lame their attacks are, DI hire, stepped her way up to the top. Doesn't like, is anti-Semitic. Uh, we're gonna break down the ones that were like could be really problematic, like as far as locked up a lot of black men in California when she was attorney general. First of all, that's not what state's attorneys do, right? It's done in the county on the local level. And in her whole time, I think 45 people in the whole state for drug convictions, and she started something. And they weren't all black men, and she started something like for so like you don't reoffend, like a program for when you get out of jail, so you don't go. So let's get this record straight, because people are going to try to twist stuff. But if the pushback is DEI, slept away to the top, anti-Semitic, and then there's this comedian, I'm trying to look for him right
okay.
now, who said one of the things that they were saying was, oh yeah, she had relatives that like own slaves. So here's what I'm going to say. Now, black people,
I
first of
mean,
all,
what
well,
are
I
we
was going to
talking
say,
about?
first of all, code word, everybody know that, right? My father's grandmother's mother was a slave, and her father was a slave owner, and her mother was a slave, right? So if you can go back to the 1800s and say that so that's all they can do. First of all, good, because then they want to take critical race theory out of the school system. So if they're gonna play that card, they're gonna bring that back in. Great. We can talk about race. We can talk about history. We could talk about slavery. If they want to do that, they want to take that out of
But wait a
the
second.
dialogue.
Hold on. A white person said her
No, the
ancestors owned
Republicans. No, that's
slaves?
well. Listen,
Like,
it could have been Tim Scott. I'm not saying it. I'm not quoting Tim Scott.
oh,
I'm saying it was the Repugs. I'm
oh,
not saying
okay.
Tim Scott. So no, I'm
All
not.
right.
It's
All
not
right.
a
I
mistake.
just
A Repug.
Yeah,
Because what
Angela,
else can
it's
they
all over the
say?
map. It's all over the map.
What can they say?
I saw something, I think it was tied like a meme with Simone Biles, and it had DEI. She's like, you darn Skippy, I definitely earned it. DEI.
yes.
I love
So
that. That's my new DEI.
yeah,
I got
exactly.
my
And so when they bring that up, you're right. She's DEI. She has definitely earned it. So
she definitely
let's
earned
not
it.
get it
Yeah,
twisted.
but all of this whole thing with DEI, I wish somebody would hire me in a job where I just have to be black. Like I make 150,000 a year. I just come in looking nice in suits and be like, "Hi, I'm black." Like I'm so you should be happy to have me so I can make your company look better, show up in your company photos. But of course, that's a fantasy because that's not real. I don't think anybody's ever gotten a job just because they were black.
Well,
That's
you'd be surprised though.
well,
You will
plenty
be
of
surprised.
people have gotten jobs because they were white.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yes, exactly. Yeah, I guess I'm just saying that, yeah, it happens both ways, but I think that the part is that whole thing is just a whole other conversation. We're going to have to come on here and do another one on that.
But Robyn, so back into that. It's a great way to open. So how has the conversation around you from Kenyans who can't vote shifted about our upcoming election? Is the Kamala factor exciting non-voters as well in your
Yeah.
country?
Oh, it's extremely exciting for everybody. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, for so many reasons, of course, right? When we look at leadership and we look at power and we look at the typical spaces and places and bodies that are doing that, when we had Merkel, if you will, and we have this, that these are women, but now, you're talking about, okay, Kamala is coming in here and she's a woman of color. She's a woman from two heritage from the South, right? From the global South. And these are very populous, countries or continents, if you will, that she is coming from. And so I think when people see that, they see that there's a continuous shift that is happening, that we are starting to see, the global South, which Karen Hunter likes to talk about, is actually the global majority.
Well, yes.
And so it is the global majority. And so to see it starting to flip and for it to start to come in that direction, people around the globe are, of color and other places, people that know that, hey, power has been represented by one, if you will, body type, our physical nature, expression of a human. And it's time for us to continue to see, no, there is more people. Everybody and anybody is actually capable of leading and holding those spaces. So the second that, I think the second that it was alluded to that she would be the one, people here across, Kenya and various places across Africa. You're already seeing in WhatsApp groups everywhere the picture. Here she comes, here she comes, here she comes. And people know that I'm over the Democrats Abroad Kenya, and also they know that my stand for gender equality, women leadership and decision making. It was a so proud moment. Immediately I just posted all back to say, I just want a big smile and to say that, look, the game is on. We have a full race that's going. I am extremely excited, and everybody since then has the energy and the excitement has just been from U.S. citizens that are eligible to vote has been really, really high. So we've had a lot of people coming to us to try to find out. But here's the other thing is that we have U.S. citizens in Kenya and across Africa that are, that are dual citizens that have from their
Right.
original, natural citizenship originated from Nigeria, from Kenya, from Tanzania, from Rwanda, and from Ethiopia. And all of those people are eligible citizens. And so we're tapping them on their shoulder that they do have a chance to actually come in and actually execute their right as a U.S. citizen to vote here in this election. And that's also exciting. Some people had thought that maybe you got it at some point. You went to school in the U.S., you were there for some time and you got your citizenship, but you moved back here and you put it on the back burner, right? Because you were maybe thinking, I'll never use it. I'll never go back. I'm here to raise my family, this, that, and the other. But we are letting them know that listen, the more people we can have on this, suited up, if you will, putting on this jersey,
Yes.
right? Suited up, putting on this jersey. Just if you can just do it for the November 5th election, I don't care what you do with it after that. But we do, if you're eligible, come in and actually, give that vote in so that we can lock this down and have, we can't have a wide margin of any if you will, wiggle room because
Yes.
we know what's going to happen. It's going to be if we get a 20%, if we get a 20-point lead, we know that it's even going to be heck to pay. So anyhow, it's exciting. We have seen, even we just kind of got a good report from our recent meeting, our regional meeting here the other night, and we were kind of highlighted for such a spike in people that we've brought in for people to become members and get their ballots request and so forth in just over this 3 weeks or so, 3 or 4 weeks. So it's been quite remarkable.
Yeah. I just want to mention just for a moment, Tim Walz. I think he's a great candidate, but what's even better, if they win, his lieutenant governor is a Native American woman, and she'll be the first Native American governor
Awesome.
of in the United States. So there's a lot of change that will be possible, and the
Let me say
world
two
will open.
things. Peggy Flanagan, who is the lieutenant governor of Minnesota, is amazing. And I haven't met her personally. We breathe the same air because I'm the secretary for the DNC Midwestern Caucus. So Minnesota's in our Midwestern Caucus. She comes to all of our meetings. Our chair is from Minnesota. He always shouts her out. He had a wonderful story about how he first met her at some youth empowerment camp years ago and how she's always been amazing. And then when you're talking, you think, oh my God, who is she? She's amazing. And now to think that she could be governor, it's really in Governor Walz, I should say, is on his second term. So she could be there for a long time and do a lot of things because he got a lot of things good done that she was a part of. So it's just really exciting and can change the things for the nation. And the second thing I wanted to say is what people need to go to votefromabroad.org, right? So these Americans who have citizenship return to their home countries on the continent, whether it be Africa, the Asian continent, around the world, right? Caribbean, you can vote. So you would go to votefromabroad.org and you would start by the state where you obtained your citizenship. Now, even if you don't, that residence is no longer associated with you or your family or as a parking lot or garage, it doesn't matter. That would be your address when you were a resident. So you would start there, but then, okay, 2B, part B. If you are on the ground in Kenya, and as you say, you fit in one of these categories, after you go from Vote From Abroad, or when you go to Vote From Abroad, don't skip. If you skip that part when they say, do you want to join Democrats Abroad? You think, oh, I don't want to do that. Reconsider it. Once you get down through all the way through, reconsider it because it'll give you a chance to be part of a community on the ground, not just virtually, but in real life. Robyn, tell us some of the stuff that you all do on the ground in Democrats Abroad. Y'all be dancing and making music.
Democrats Abroad in Kenya is really just a great hodgepodge, just like the Democratic Party. We're really like a hodgepodge of people who we come together socially from time to time. So we often are looking at public places that we can be, where we can reach out to, and let people know that we're here. And yes, we also host parties. We host dance parties. We were holding at a country at the Shamba, just one of these places who's owned by an American. It's a place called the Shamba, who's owned by an American, and she's kind of like our headquarters. She's
cool.
like been co-opted as our de facto headquarters. And so we often are doing different things like that to keep together and to stay together socially from time to time, but also encouraging them to actually stay connected with what's happening in their state. That's what I tell people, that, the voting from abroad, please go and do that. But clicking and say that you want Democrats Abroad to be your new person of contact or whatever that thing. I just love when I get those messages that tell us
Your
as a new
point
person
person.
who is, exactly. That's right. And because things change in your state, things are changing in your state and how they vote. We know that secretaries of state across the country are making changes. I think I just saw in Arizona or Arkansas, they've just determined that so many votes are being taken off the rolls because of some technicality. Look, you want to be connected, you get updates, and information, and that's accessible and that's in your corner to make certain that you don't miss a beat. And Democrats Abroad and all of that, we're here for that purpose, to make certain that you figure out, you have easily at your fingertips how you can make certain that you're not that technicality, if you will, as much as possible, that your vote is not thrown out for some odd reason. And so that's the other thing. We have an event coming up, which we're very excited about. We're going to host a screening of Shirley on the 18th of August. Yeah, 18th of August, going to host a screening of Shirley. And that's the day before the convention kicks off. And it's very apropos because in Kamala's first presidential election, she did her colors and her everything was an homage to Shirley, and the purple and all of that, because Shirley was really a trailblazer in regards to a Black woman running for the presidential seat. And Shirley said, I might not win, but I will change the game. And she did just that. Before then, Shirley had not they weren't going to let her come and be on the debates, but Shirley went and fought for that, and she got to be on the debates. She got to the DNC convention. She had all of those people rethink how things are going to be done. And she said, if there's not a seat for me at this table, and this is what we all quote this, and we all are saying this, Shirley said, I'm going to bring my own darn chair. I don't need y'all to accommodate me. I will bring my own darn chair. And Kamala really does pay homage to Shirley's 1972 candidature. So we're going to kick off the same convention, really, because we know we're going into another historical convention. And so we're excited about that. And we've got a lot of people signed up to come. And there we'll have a Zoom room where we'll have a phone booth where people can go into that Zoom room if they want to get any questions answered about how they register to vote, how they, so we'll have a makeshift phone booth there for people to go step in and do that. We'll also be signing up for our phone banking. We're excited about that. We're committing to doing at least 25,000 phone calls.
Wow.
Yeah, that's our goal. Let's see, and we'll be doing tabling. We've done this every 2 years, a strong push on really being tabling and being at various places around Nairobi where US citizens are, and just being there in the presence, and people can say, oh my gosh, how do I vote? How do I get my vote in? And we just kind of have these mini clinics just in various places around Nairobi and outside the Nairobi and populous US citizen places. So that's a little bit, about Democrats Abroad. We have been so lucky. We've had an 18-year-old who's on our executive committee, who actually was on Democrats Abroad Global's Youth Caucus also. He was cast his first presidential primary here in Kenya, with us being able to hold our in-person global presidential primary location. And it was just an honor to be able to see him, exercising for his first time in a provision, a place that had, making that available for him. And he was so excited. His parents were very excited that he could do that in person, and that he can show this responsibility. It's really kind of like a rites of passage, if you will, for all of us. And so it's really exciting to be able to be a part of that.
Well, Robyn,
yeah,
you just laid the blueprint for how anyone can be active in their country. So if you don't have a country committee on the ground, like I know some countries in Africa, they don't. There's still ways to be active globally. But I just wanted to say something funny, because it's so funny. You said this guy's first election, 18, he's going to get to vote for Kamala Harris. My first election,
Wow.
18, I got to vote for Jesse Jackson when he was on the primary.
Cool. Nice.
So, okay, I'm that old, but at least I had that first. And that's part of my story, voting for Jesse Jackson.
Yeah.
And it leads into another story that we're not going to talk about, though. But
Well,
Just to say, long story short, because my first husband, he didn't vote for Jesse, and I let that slide. But just to say, young people, find out how your partner votes before you get married. This guy ended up working for Trump. But anyway,
Oh my God.
Angela, well, just to let you know, all skin folk and kin folk, but that's okay. We know that Trump gets some voters. So let's not talk about why
Well,
Trump
let
gets
me
some voters.
just,
Let's talk about why Angela has something to say.
well, I
Yeah.
do. I just want to go back to a couple of things. You
mm-hmm,
both talked about helping people to vote and vote from abroad. I just want to recommend that people use vote from abroad as opposed to going to their state.
yeah,
Where I'm at, we do tabling too.
mm-hmm,
And I've run into so many people lately that decided to go to their state website.
mm-hmm,
And I asked them, did you get a confirmation from your local election
mm-hmm.
office? And
Okay,
they
wait
would
a minute,
say,
Angela. I have to stop you there right now. You know what? They need to start all over, don't you think? Because first of all, they're not getting the federally protected
that's right. That's what I was going to say.
Right,
That
yeah,
people
Oh,
right,
they think that they're getting a ballot, but they're not because it's a
right.
different system. And if you use the format for the what is it, FPCA, the federal postcard
federal
application,
postcard
then
application, because
you're,
literally it used to be a postcard, literally, and they just never changed the
yeah,
acronym.
thank God it's not anymore. It's online, it's all online, but that your rights are protected as an overseas voter. And
Mm-hmm,
if you go to directly to your state's website for elections, they may give it to you or they may not. They
mm-hmm,
may contact you or they may not. But when you use Vote from Abroad or even fvap.org or gov, sorry, fvap.gov, your rights are protected. We actually, overseas, our rights are more protected than the people in the United States.
mm-hmm.
So just keep that in
Yeah, we
mind.
only get screwed when it comes to our states, but our federal voting rights are protected.
Yeah,
Military, overseas personnel, study abroad. If you know you're going to be abroad for a month and you got an address during voting season, it's no requirement to say that you have to show some lease or that you have to sign some declaration, I'm never coming back, or it's nothing big and dramatic. It's just a federally protected right. You're not going to be in your home state and to vote, and you know it. And our ballots come 45 days in advance. So we'll walk you through how you need to make sure you get that by email, how you want to make sure you send it back by email or fax if you can. Some states you need to witness. Just follow it to the T. But oh my God, Angela, you're hurting my heart telling me that people are going to their
Oh
local
yeah,
election
no, most
offices.
definitely. She's exactly right, and because there's a lot of information out there, right? There's so much out there. There's so much other ways that people think they're getting information, and so I always am just saying, listen, keep it simple. Even vote from abroad is a great way of keeping up to date. That's what I'm talking about. All these changes, you don't have to go back and keep up with figuring out what new law passed or what's the new process. That vote from abroad thing is just so, voting for dummies almost, if you will. You just kind of do the thing and stay inside of that. It's everybody just needs to just figure out one way that's a trusted resource, that's a consistent place where you can do that and just keep the voting from abroad. And then the other part, Angela, right, is you got to do that every year.
Yes.
You got to do it. Yeah, you got to do it every year. So yes, when we get through this, just again, put it on reminder already, January, and just get it done. Using the same thing. That's kind of what we are saying.
Yes.
You change your air
Well, that's
conditioned vents, you change this, that, and the other. Go do your
yeah, your
voting.
smoke detectors. But Angela and Robyn, that's another good reason to join Democrats Abroad because don't we kind of have an event every January? What is it? Overseas voter
15th, something like that.
January
Yeah,
15th is Overseas
15th. Yeah.
Voter
Mm-hmm.
Appreciation Day or something like this.
Yeah.
But it's basically it's a holiday, it's a fake holiday meant to make sure that everybody knows that they can vote and to request your absentee ballots. Um, yeah, I'm so happy that Kenya has like really blossomed into such a, I remember when you weren't a country committee and
Yeah.
now you're just this, full speed ahead operation. It's awesome.
Oh man, these were early days, Angela, and you were right there with us at the push and what we were doing. And so South Africa, there's only two official country committees currently in Africa. And so, Angela, your push, and really what's inspired me, I think the early days was with the Global Black Caucus. And, I was just really inspired by all that you were doing there. We were like, wait a minute. And then, this goes back to more representation makes a difference, representation. So you kind of
Yes.
looking to see, oh, you mean there's space for me in this place? I like before I had been working and talking to Americans and proselytizing the importance of voting. But then I think, Angela, just when we connected, it gave me
That you could
the
do it.
if you will,
Yeah.
the impetus that, wait a minute, and I can't have this sister out here leading by herself,
Yeah.
like I
No,
can't.
you guys, you did such a great job putting
Yeah.
everything together. Yeah, I think it's awesome. And hopefully over the next few weeks, months, maybe years, we'll have more country committees in Africa, but because we do have a lot of Americans living in Africa, one of the things that is always interesting to me is the Blaxit. Um, I find it very interesting because and Adrian, I don't think either one of us left because of the political or racial situation in the United States.
I
But
didn't either.
yeah. But so many people have just decided
You know
I'm
what?
I'm
But
out.
you know what? It's nothing new, right? And even before, James Baldwin did it in the 60s,
Mhm.
in the
Yeah.
50s. Even before
Josephine
that,
Baker,
the
right?
Harlem
Yeah.
Renaissance, in the Harlem, Langston Hughes, in the Harlem
Yeah.
Renaissance, people Paris. Nothing new. We just call it blacks because they had Brexit. I don't know what they called it in the 20s, getting the hell out of here. I'm sick of y'all lynching us, whatever. We saying the same thing, that many years later. So it's cyclical. None of that, and that's sad. But it reminds me also what did Coretta Scott King said? Every generation has to vote for civil rights. There's no one fighting this over. So there's a blacks at every generation where
Yeah.
it's used to be just Paris, it used to be just Europe. I mean, we can talk about the people that went to Russia, that were doing all that. It used to be that. Now we're everywhere. Mexico's hot. Mexico's really hot.
Costa
Portugal,
Rica
Yeah.
is
I mean,
Costa Rica,
I think
going to the
just like,
continent.
yeah, I mean, I think just like really everything else, technology is kind of fueled, this. I mean, now you have travel noir, you have people on their Instagram, and so I think that kind of is fueling the, if you will, oh, I can do this.
Mm,
Before it would take me time to mail my letter back to somebody and this, that, and the other, and the cost. And so I think we're in a new phase where it's kind of like exponential, if you will, the numbers of people that are doing it, and which is quite interesting and quite exciting, if you will. And I think with the White House doing their survey for U.S. citizens, did y'all see that for the first
yeah.
time they're conducting a survey exactly for U.S. citizens who are living outside of the contiguous U.S. And with some real interesting questions on there. What are some issues that are important to you? Is it criminal justice? Is it race? Is it, asking some, I don't know what they're going to do with it. They might put that in file 13. Who knows what they're going to do with it? But, it had some really interesting questions on there. I wish they had kind of asked if we wanted to help shape some of that policy, but what we are seeing here is a lot of people moving to Africa and of course in various other places because you have digital nomads, right?
Right.
Digital nomads that are moving along. Again, that's all inside of technology. Wouldn't have been possible really before. But we do have find people that are in that move. The question is how do I what do I see as my duty and my responsibility as a citizen somewhere? Right? I can be a resident in various places, but what does it mean to be a citizen? I think that's kind of what is we are trying to continue to bring people back because there is some kind of like escapism that, I
Yes.
think the move is kind of like some escapism. And to be honest with you, it is a whole nother world and living here, the kind of stressors of being Black and walking the streets as a Black person aren't here. Because
But I think
everybody.
that's why it's important to look back at our history because when Langston Hughes went to Paris in the 20s, he still knew what it was like to be a patriot or an American patriot. You know, his work spoke to, I need my citizenship. Why am I being treated this way? Same thing with Joseph P. Banker or civil rights. So yeah, you leave, but you leave with this because I think part of it, people who leave because of that is because of the system injustice. And so you fight, you don't necessarily get complacent because you want that justice for everybody else. You want what you have. And I know modern day people, us kind of, our thing has been like, we want people to have the healthcare we have in our countries. I don't know what healthcare is like in Kenya. I know what it's like in Sweden, you know. I know what it's like in the States. I've always had it in the States, not everybody. Everybody in Sweden has it, right? Everybody in Sweden has the same copay. It's not, you know, dependent on your job, things like that. So those things I know have been burning issues that people, at least in my 20 years of being an expat, try to drive home to people. They're like, what's the living overseas? That's the first thing. I'm like, well, education and healthcare, right? Higher education and healthcare. And then to the parents, braces for your kids, childcare checks. What did the Biden Harris administration did during COVID?
That's right.
That reduced
They brought
childcare
down
poverty.
actually, yeah, childhood poverty, which was
Yeah.
amazing.
Childhood poverty.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that I don't know, for me living here, what I notice when I go back to the States is how stressful being in America is. And
Mhm.
that if you don't have money, you really don't have anything. You know, that's the only way to, there's a sense of, there's racism and then there's classism in
Mhm.
America, and both are quite strong.
Mhm.
There, I think,
Mhm.
yeah, and I don't know. I like going to America sometimes, but I have to say that after a while, I am ready to come back because of the stress that there
Mhm.
is in
Yeah, and
America.
then that's what these
You
people,
know,
you know, that's what I think the black sit is just that sentiment is that if it's possible to have another lifestyle that is not so stressed, is this stressful lifestyle the only way to live on this planet? And people realize no, it's not. And so that just goes back to my question of what it is to be a citizen and what it is to be a resident. You can move everywhere, but does your citizenry call you to you know, have some stake in the game about something? And that's the voting part. Because I think oftentimes people, when they're doing that escapism, they do want to pull back on all the, you know, any tentacles of responsibility or any, you know, any
Yes,
tethering of, and so how do you, it's been difficult keeping people um, tied to the responsibility of it. Because the other part is every time we open our mouth, American comes out. It doesn't matter where you
yes,
move to, American come, and the way we walk, I hate to say it, people, it's different than everybody else. We got a certain kind of stride, and again, you can pick an American out in any room. I can do it. You just give me 2 minutes. The way we talk, the way we wear clothes, it doesn't matter. There is something about, and that comes with a certain level of privilege. It
yes,
comes with a certain level of privilege in many ways. And so how do we exercise it and use that privilege responsibly? How do we use that privilege responsibly as responsibly as we move about this world? And that's you know, that's why I have to, you know, keep telling people you might not want to vote. You might say you're done with it. You might say why you moved was so I don't have to do this. And you know, I'm just having conversations to just think again, take another look at it, take another consideration about that.
yes,
okay,
for
three things I
sure.
wanted to say before I forget. Now, when Robyn was, no, Carol, no, who was it? Angela was giving Robyn her flowers for building up VA Kenya. When I was the global, what was it, volunteer coordinator or whatever, yeah, and caucuses were under my purview. Angela formed the Global Black Caucus. I saw her do it in 6 weeks. Her Mm, project management sheet blueprint became the benchmark, the blueprint for you. Help how many other caucuses get formed after yours?
Several,
Um,
but we needed
Several,
them. We really
but we
needed,
needed
we
them. But
need the
that's the thing.
representation for sure.
So I want to give you your flowers for doing that. You gave her hers, and we were all doing that thing. Now the other thing you were saying, okay, yeah, the American privilege that comes with the passport. Privilege, I'm going to call it like baggage. So we've got the baggage that comes with the passport, right? And so
Yeah, but it's more than
both
just
ways.
baggage. It's more than
But
it's
see,
not
baggage to me
baggage.
isn't a bad thing.
No, no,
Baggage to me is
it's
not a bad thing. It's something that
people.
you always have with you. Now,
Well,
privilege changes, right? Because it depends on how, like, I was treated differently as an American under the Bush presidency than I was under the Obama presidency as an expat. People were high fiving me. It was cool as hell to be an American. Obama got elected.
yeah, but
Bush
it's
in
more
your
than that.
face. But I'm
It's
Yeah,
saying,
yeah,
so
I
it
think
comes with
yeah,
the
for me,
baggage.
yeah. I
So
mean,
it comes with me
if you do the
wherever I
net
go.
net, if you do the net, Adrian, you still have up
Well,
here
see,
as an American, the
yeah, I
net.
don't, but see, I don't weigh
Yeah,
it as like good or bad.
yeah,
Because as you
but
say, I can't hide my Americanness or my blackness. So it comes with me. So how am I going to use it? So I'm not disagreeing with you all. It's the same thing. I just look at it in a different way. Privilege,
well,
baggage, whatever. Because I cannot ever stop being a woman, an American, or an African American. So those type of things. If it's a privilege in one society, it's a hindrance in another. Depends on where I go. That privilege doesn't necessarily work in the Middle East as an American. So it just depends. It's part of my identity, and
no,
we
it
have
does.
multiple
Listen, if something
ones.
happens to you, the military and the Marines gonna come for you.
But not even before we get to that, just
but
like the type of treatment I get in a hotel. It was great. It just depends. I can remember being on a plane going to India, and the flight attendant, she was like, "Are you African?" And I said, "No." But she was like, "Oh, because I just love African women." And she was just so nice to me and all over me the whole flight. And I thought, okay, first time ever. I needed to get the airline and make sure I use them all the time. But that was the first time ever in my life that somebody was like, "Are you African?" and loved on me because I was African. So
that's very interesting. But I think that Americans, we have a privilege, and people that move, they think I'm moving to get away from America. But the thing is, I mean, and I'm not sure. Well, actually, I do know in some places in Africa, like Ghana, they wanted Americans to come. And because we're Americans, that's why we can move all over the world, basically unimpeded. If you tried doing
That's
that
right.
and you were from, I don't know, Korea or something like
That's
that,
right.
you you wouldn't be able to do it,
but you could
with
with
the
Germany
ease.
and France and all of that. I know what you're saying, the Western passport. And I've seen the African
No, that's
passports,
no,
how they
no,
get treated
I
coming to
don't
the
mean the
States.
Western passport. I mean the
Yeah,
American one.
American.
I'm
That's
being
right.
very
I do
specific,
too. Yeah,
very
I do
specific
too,
about it,
Angela. But when you
because
just use the big exchange, you just use the big contrast with Korea. That's
but but
huge. But yeah.
but wait.
Yeah.
So we have this privilege. We move all around the world, and if you think that you can forget about America, it's not an accurate like thought process, because America is everywhere. And what happens in America affects all sorts of
Everywhere.
countries, all sorts of people, different governments, different laws, everything. We're there. We have hundreds of military bases all around the world. You can't escape America. You can escape some of the prejudice and some of the stress and whatever else, but you can't actually escape the United States of America. And in a way, you shouldn't want to. All our friends and families are there. Like, we want to care. I mean, I care about my family there. That's why I have been doing this work for, which seems like a really long time, but it's not. It just seems that way because every election is so stressy. But my family, my friends, uh, they're all there. And if for some reason Trump was going to be president again, I we don't know we do know what's going to happen, but we just don't know precisely when or how it's going to happen. They've already said all the things that they want to do to hurt people.
Mm.
And if people think that they will, they've said that they're going to deport a lot of Latino people, but they've also said they want to get rid of birthright citizenship. And most people, you should know that the 14th Amendment is because of Black people.
Mm-hmm. This deportation thing, it's not just Mexicans, if you
Yeah,
will.
that's true.
It's actually not just Mexicans that have come through across the border. We have Africans, the Cameroonians. It's documented that it's a lot of people that have been coming through that border,
Yes.
if you will. I was just bumped into somebody in Thailand. I was there last week, and we were talking. It was an Indian guy. I don't know if he heard my accent. And he said, "Oh, you're American." No, he said, "Where are you from?" That's where they always say, "Well, where are you from?" And I said, "Well, I'm from Kenya." He said, "Oh, I thought I heard American." I said, "Well, I'm American, whatever." Yeah, both. And he said, "Oh, I live in Michigan." I was like,
Oh,
"Oh, wow, cool." I said, "Well," and he was an Indian, Indian heritage. And I said, "Oh, you must be, proud or excited about Kamala." And he said, "No, I'm not." He wasn't excited about Kamala, and he said something about he was upset with her immigration not fixing the whatever immigration, and so many of his friends had been deported, kind of with the immigration stuff not been fixed or worked out. So this, nothing is black and white in any
yes.
of this. Nothing is really black and white. Nothing is as straightforward. I think what we have to, and this is part of, how do we move from being a single issue voters, if you will? There's not any of these candidates, again, getting back to talking about perfect, whatever, nobody is actually perfect. Nobody is going to embody and align with everything that each individual thinks or feels. That's just not going to happen. But what we can do is try to, how do we align with what are some of the futures that we imagine, if you will? What are some futures that we can collectively imagine, and that we think that this direction is going more towards that future that I imagine than another future than I imagine? And so I think that that's what we have to keep bringing ourselves back. And I know that, many people, many voters of color here in Africa were really kind of lukewarm before Kamala, because there was some, maybe some misgivings or some upsets in regards to the Gaza war, and maybe people not even really being able to see, because they feel like the Democratic Party hadn't been saying enough what they have been doing for people of African descent and Black people in the States, which I don't know how people have missed that, if you will. But, so I think that we have to just kind of say, listen, it's a new day. We have somebody with a new viewpoint, a new lens that they look through life through, right? Because they have a new, Kamala has a history in Africa. Her and her family were in Zambia for quite a long time, because you have a different outlook on the world. And so hopefully we can, start to hear some. I think that's what people are actually excited to hear, a different outlook. What does her different outlook bring to the table? I think that that's one of the things people are curious about.
Well, when you
Yeah.
said to me, it's exciting because the two things, like how do you get people to be one issue voters to imagine in the big future? So you've got those two camps. So great. That one guy had an issue with her for immigration. That's fantastic because that's so easy for him to research or to get information about, well, what is her stance? Okay, well, what does the vice president do about immigration? Who knows? He doesn't know. He doesn't know what she could do. But what can she do as
Well, I mean, they're
president?
walking around
What
saying
is her
immigration
stance?
czar. They're walking around saying she was a bad immigration czar.
And
That
that's
job don't
okay
even
because
exist.
and
But
that's
there is no
great.
such thing. There,
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why that's great because that
yeah.
helps us drive the conversation. That's why that's great because you can say, oh, how funny. There is no immigration jar. So this is what she did. But that's great because we need one issue voters because that's, some people are like too pessimistic or don't even know what it's like to dream. So imagine a brighter future. Great. We can do that. One issue voter, immigration. Good. This is what she did. Good. This is how she feels on gay marriage. Good. This is where she is on environment. Good. This is where she is on veterans.
Yeah,
Good. This is
but
where she is on
I
reproductive rights. So she's
I
got a lot to put on everybody's plate, I think, is what I'm
well,
saying. The Kamala thing, she's got enough to be like, come envision a new future, and enough to be like, boom. If you're just going to the polls because you're like, I'm going to protect my womb, she's got you covered. If you just want to protect gay marriage, she's got you covered. So I don't think people can find real issues where there's gaps or weaknesses in her policy.
I just want to let everybody know we're going to be at the Democratic National Convention from which is the 19th through the 22nd. And it's going to be really great. And you'll be hearing from us from there. And so with that, I just want to thank Robyn for joining us today. And she will definitely return. And we'll see y'all for the next episode.
Bye.
Thanks, Robyn.
Thanks for joining us today. I hope this episode made you think and made you want to vote.
So do I. Plus, voting is the birthright they didn't even want us to have.
And we're women on top of that, and they didn't want us voting either.
So vote, vote, vote every chance you get.
Don't forget, votefromabroad.org for absentee ballots for U.S. citizens overseas. If you live in the U.S., go to iwillvote.com to register to vote and to verify your registration. They're throwing people off the voting rolls, so you really need to check.
Yeah, they're still doing that. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.